So I'm going to show you how I make raccoon egg rolls. And it's actually, I tried this once just because I got the idea. I felt, especially as I've been putting more content online, and you know, a lot of people, you get a lot of reaction from people when you start putting trapping content out, and a lot of people ask, what do you do with the animal? And you know, I almost felt a little self-conviction that, you know, some of these, particularly like beaver and raccoon, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that meat, and there are certain areas and certain people that you know, consider that not an out of the ordinary menu item, if you will. And so I mean, even back to my great grandparents and my grandfather, even, you know, I mean, they grew up in the Depression times, and you know, if it had 4 legs, there was a good chance it was going to get eaten, and you know, every part of it. They weren't just for wanting waste, and I don't want to be like that, you know. And so I got to thinking of things I could try to do with some of the game that I've been catching to kind of capture that and take advantage of that. And I didn't want to do something that was just ordinary, you know, fry it or barbecue it or whatever. So I got thinking about this, doing some egg rolls, because it's something that really doesn't require a lot of meat to make, you know, quite a few egg rolls. And overall, it's really a pretty easy thing to do. So I've got one raccoon hindquarter here, boneless, the bone's out. I've got, to make life even simpler, I found a package of Asian vegetable blend at Walmart, and it's just got cabbage, broccoli, carrots, snap peas, kohlrabi. I don't even know what some of that stuff is, but you know, I think the main ingredient of egg rolls is cabbage, so I thought that'd be super easy. You don't have to chop up anything, it's already chopped and ready to go. I've got some egg roll wrappers, buy these right beside where I bought that from. Then I do have some about 4 or 5 cloves of garlic minced. I've got, I don't know, probably a tablespoon of fresh ginger minced, and then ever how much that is of onions, just because I like onions, and mince that up or dice that up as well. Probably, I don't know, 1/4 cup maybe or something. Another thing I'm going to add is just a little bit of pineapple, and that's just because I got a pineapple the other day and it was really good, and so I like kind of messing with it and cooking with that some. And honestly, when I made them the first time, there was not I mean, it tasted like an egg roll, which is good, but I kind of like something a little bit different, you know, or add a little spice to it or something different. So I thought the pineapple might be a good way to kind of add a little something different to it. So to get started, I've got a pan heating up, melting butter. I'm going to go ahead and put the ginger, garlic, and onions in and let that start sauteing and cooking down. And then I'm going to take my raccoon hindquarter and I'm going to trim it. I'm going to try to trim all the fat off of it. I haven't cooked raccoon fat, but when I got kind of polled people asking, a lot of people said you want to trim all the fat. You don't want any of the raccoon fat. So that's an important part. And then I dice it up. I'll dice it up into pretty small pieces. And one thing to keep in mind too with raccoons, but also with any wild game and even any store-bought meat, if you're buying a big piece of meat, is you want to try to make sure there's no glands in there, because glands are one thing that can cause it to have an off taste or a gamey taste and something you don't want. And in the back leg, the hind leg, on the back of the hind leg, there is a gland in there. And oftentimes, if you see a big fatty area, there may be a gland inside that. And so I've got this big fatty area, but that's just on the back side of the ham. So I'm not really concerned about that. I'm going to trim that off. But this right here is the kind of the fatty vein along the back of the thigh, and that's where that gland is. And I can actually kind of see a little discoloration there. So I'm going to cut, and I mean, it looks, let me bring you over and show you. So if you can see here, you can kind of see that discoloration, that little gray thing, and that's what that is. That's that gland. I'm kind of trying to peel it back without busting and getting on my knife. But there you can see, I mean, that's that gland, kind of a gray nodule looking thing. I want that out. So that out for sure. Then I'm just going to take and I'm just going to start trimming pieces of meat, trimming pieces of fat. And I'm going to take them and just kind of slice them small. And I may actually, last time I diced them, but I may just kind of slice them small and leave them kind of long, because I want to taste the meat. I want to know that the meat's in there. And if you dice it, unless you just are real heavy on the meat, you don't really get a good feel. You don't really get a good taste of that. So always make sure something, if you're messing with processing wild game, always be on the lookout for hairs. And so I'm just going to finish up. I'm going to slice this up and get it ready to throw in the mixture with my onions and garlic that you could probably hear sizzling and sauteing over there. Okay, so I got my onions, garlic, and all kind of caramelized here in the pan. I'm going to add my raccoon. Add that in, and honest to goodness, I just sliced one of the hindquarters. There's not a whole lot of meat there, but that's a good thing about like the egg rolls, is it doesn't take a lot of meat to make quite a few, especially when you mix it with something like the cabbage mixture, which I'm going to go ahead and add in. Add about half the pack. We'll see how that does. And really, I'm just trying to cook the meat. I want the cabbage, I kind of want that stuff to stay kind of crispy. So I might should have cooked the meat a little bit longer, but I think that's going to be good to go. We'll let that, actually I might put a little cover on it. And then I've also got back here, let's see, back here I've got me some oil in a pan. I'm going to go ahead and start heating that up, because that's how we're going to finish and fry the egg rolls. I just remember while I'm doing this, I'm going to go ahead and throw the pineapple in there too. It's not going to be a lot of pineapple, but hopefully it'll be just enough where you can get maybe a little bit in every bite. Stir that around and let it ride, and then I'm heating up my oil for frying. Okay, so I got my concoction, my Coon egg roll fillings there. I've got my egg roll wrappers here. They're really easy to do. Just take you a couple spoonfuls right in the center. And I did put this on a plate to kind of drain. I did throw a little bit of soy sauce in while they were cooking. And then all you do is just roll them. Fold one edge over. Try to tuck it, fold the other. And the other. And then kind of roll it. And fold that last corner over. Then have you a little bowl of water. And just wet that edge. Kind of like an envelope. And that'll help hold it down and hold it together. And you set that off to the side. It's ready for the grease. And just do that for as many. Let's see, that feels like 2. Do that for as many as you got the filling for. And it always seems like it's going to fill up way a lot, but then once you start wrapping, it doesn't. Sometimes I'll take a little sriracha, although you really don't taste it that much after you fry them and you kind of cook them. But just to add a little bit of extra, I know there's something in there. Add a little bit of sriracha sauce in there. Just tuck it all in. And obviously, if you wanted to fill more egg rolls, you could go with one helping. I mean, that's a pretty good bit in there as it is. Just use one spoonful. And go ahead and fill these babies on up. And you can wet these corners that you fold in as well. But usually when you fold that last corner over, that holds it well enough, and you want to wet the underside of them. It's wind up holding together pretty well with just a little water on top. Let's see, I think I got enough for one more. Pineapple in that one, that was gonna be good. Might throw a little sriracha in there too to make it half and half, just even things out. Alright, now we'll go to our grease. I've got peanut oil here. You can use any kind of oil, that doesn't matter. Any oil is good for frying, but alright. So let's drop her in. And I found it tends to work well if you don't. I probably got a little bit too much grease in there. Sometimes when they're floating, they can be hard to roll over. So I'll let them cook for probably 2 to 3 minutes on one side, and then spin them over and let them cook on the other side just to brown and crisp up that shell. Make sure they're all loose. They're browning up pretty nice. Let's see if I can roll them over and see what they look like. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Just a couple more minutes and we'll be good to go. Check and see what we're looking like here. I think we're looking good. Pull them. I always try to turn them both ways. Just kind of let them drain anything that might be caught up in there. This one's probably gonna have some. See all that grease. Let me turn this off. All right. I gotta say, they're looking pretty good if I do say so myself. Let's give them a try. Alright, so I got it cooked up here. Got it cooled off a little bit. I got a little duck sauce, a little sweet and sour. Got a little soy sauce. I know some folks like to put soy sauce right on their egg roll. So let's give it a try and see. I'm gonna dip it in sweet and sour. Got a good chunk of meat there. It's not super gamey. It's not really strong. One thing, the last batch I made, I put them in a brine, put the hindquarters in a brine, and I don't know if you've ever used brine or not, but that makes a big difference, especially if you're cooking stuff for longer periods of time, because it really helps, and I don't know how. It's just a mixture of brown sugar and kosher salt and water all dissolved. You can add some other stuff in there to it, but for whatever reason, that stuff really helps the meat retain its moisture as it's cooking, and things don't dry out as bad. If you were a little bit concerned about having a strong gamey taste or a flavor or something like that, that's one thing I would definitely recommend. It tastes like an egg roll though, and that's, like I said before, you can also dice the meat up a little bit smaller if you got somebody. And I don't often cook wild game. My wife doesn't eat, or I don't cook my fur bearer stuff. My wife will eat deer and rabbit and some more mainline things, but she's not gonna eat raccoon or beaver or anything like that. So usually when I cook it, I'm cooking it to trying to get somebody else to try, or my uncles are crazy enough that they're willing to try, most anything I bring. And one reason for that is I try to put a lot of time and effort and thought into bringing stuff that's not gonna be shoe leather hard and taste terrible. I'm not just gonna fry something and take it and have somebody gnawing on it for 30 minutes. If I'm gonna make it and take it to people, and they're all wild game eaters and stuff, so they're not as heavily influenced, I guess, as some new person. But I mean, to me, this is something that you could very easily take, or if you got some other people coming over, say, hey, you want to try this. One reason my uncles like it's because it gives them something. It's not something that they're going to cook at their house usually, but gives them something to talk about, and everybody likes to say, oh yeah, I've eaten that before. So, but I'd encourage you to try it for yourself, and when you do have some folks coming over, you got some buddies coming over or something, this is a great way. You don't get a whole heck of a lot of meat off of raccoon, at least down in the South. Up in when I was up in Ohio and in North Dakota, they got 30-pound raccoons. You get a pretty good bit of meat off of one of those raccoons, I'd imagine. But still, you could make, you could not fill these up quite so much and take a little bit more meat off and make a dozen or more egg rolls and have a sampler platter for a whole lot of people to try. So that's just kind of one of the reasons I like trying to think outside of the box, trying to think about something different than just the same old frying. I like fried stuff, and don't get me wrong, that's always good, but something that's a little bit different that may pique somebody's interest a little bit more, and I always try to make sure. That's why I did this recipe beforehand, before I just went on and showed y'all, because I want to make sure that I'm putting the wild game and all's best foot forward. I don't want to feed somebody something and it have some kind of real strong taste or something that off puts to them, and then from then on they're against trying anything new or trying anything wild game related. So anyway, these are super easy. I definitely, if you're interested, man, give it a try. It doesn't take long to cook. It doesn't take long to prepare. And it's real easy and pretty fun, mixing it all up. You get the kids involved. My son, he's big into cooking. He likes helping. And so, he can roll stuff up and things like that. So, man, use this opportunity to show them, show your kids from the field to the plate, as they say. And and just enjoy the time with your family, and that's what I do. And so hope y'all enjoy this. Leave me some comments if you actually try this. Let me know what you think, and I'll try to work on another one I did make. Another test recipe I did was some beaver pastrami, and I'm waiting on catching another beaver, but I'll definitely be doing a video on that because that turned out real well as well. So be on the lookout for that. That one's gonna be coming up too. So hope y'all are having a good season, enjoying your eats as well as your skinning, and we'll see you next time.